given how the polls look for the NDP right now, do you think you are an asset or a liability to NDP candidates hoping to get elected?
Duh.
As the election campaign moves ahead, Jagmeet Singh may be starting to realize how much damage he's done to the party. And if he isn't coming to that realization himself, well, not to worry, reporters are pointing it out for him.
Let's take a look.
Thank you. Now, Rachel Ayelu, CTV.
Good morning. Just 4.7% of Canadians prefer you as Prime Minister, around 8% support for your party overall. Is this the last election where the NDP are a real factor?
Wow, that was blunt.
Wow, Rachel. And she's fairly balanced.
Yeah, she's actually kind of quiet, demure maybe is the right word. Just chill, right? She's not particularly spicy, and the fact that she asked that is just amazing.
Well, and we put out a video, earlier, I think a couple months ago, essentially showing the death of the NDP, and this is why, right? This is why we anticipated that whenever an election was going to happen, the NDP would be toast because Jagmeet sold everybody out. Everybody, including his own party.
Canadians are mad. I don't think you have enough Canadians that are going to be benefiting from the birth control or the diabetes medication, which what we've heard from viewers, it's only type 2 diabetes, not even type 1. That remains to be verified. But also from the dental care, which up to this point has only been seniors. So you don't have enough Canadians that have benefited from those programs that are still willing to vote NDP.
Well, and remember, the pharmacare program hasn't even started yet. Right? Let's just make sure everybody understands that. No, not a single bottle of medication has gone out to anyone. Not a single birth control item has gone out to anybody because it's not even in place yet. It's passed Parliament, but nothing has happened with it. So, these quote unquote programs that the NDP have kind of patted themselves on the back for putting in, they're not really, serving a lot of Canadians. And even the dental care, we're hearing from a lot of people that there's a big copay when you get there, and it's a big surprise to them.
Well, we actually heard from somebody in the field within the past couple of weeks. We were speaking to them, and they had said that with this dental care program, the cost to cover, say, a brand new set of dentures will be more covered than to fix like a chipped tooth on one of your dentures.
And I think I know the reason for that. It's because the higher cost items are going to be less needed by people. So it's not necessarily going to cover things like cleanings and cavities and fillings and all of this stuff, which is what the majority of people actually need. So even this dental program, it's kind of smoke and mirrors by the sounds of it.
This is a question we get at pretty much every election. If you go back, we'll get the same questions, similar questions in every election. I'm always going to be here to fight back for Canadians. New Democrats are always going to be there. I'm sure the other parties would love for us to not be there to point out that their plans are going to hurt Canadians. I know that they would love for us to not point out that Mark Carney, when he talks about investing, in the same man talks about cutting services that Canadians need. That's going to hurt them. That Pierre Poilievre's plan entirely is just to cut the things that you need, to cut healthcare, to cut childcare, and it's going to cost you. I'm sure they would love for us to not be here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to continue to fight for Canadians like we have throughout the history of this country. We will always be a voice for the people, and we'll never back down from that.
But what about when the people don't want you to be their voice?
Well, he says, they talk about this every election. I don't think so. When, the election where, Tom Mulcair was head of the NDP and they resulted in being the official opposition.
The orange wave, yeah.
Pretty sure there wasn't a question about that. Pretty sure when Jack Layton was leading the party, people weren't like, Jack, is this the end of the NDP? Pretty sure they weren't asking him that question.
Yeah, it's only been since Jagmeet Singh showed up.
Right. And it's laughable because Jagmeet Singh took over, after Tom Mulcair, and the party has just disintegrated into oblivion. That's the price of getting your pension, I guess.
And we're seeing you engage a lot on social media during this campaign. I'm just wondering, are you confident that that is going to translate into votes, or is there a risk that that kind of social media activity could portray you as less serious?
We want to use every tool to be able to speak to Canadians where they are. Right now, lots of folks are on social media. It's a way to connect with people, so we're going to use that tool. I want folks to know the important choice they have in this election. Mark Carney and the Liberals who want to cut from the services that you need. Pierre Poilievre, who wants to cut massively from things like dental care, health care, and child care. Or New Democrats who want to stand up for you, strengthen those programs, and lower your bills. That's the choice in this election.
Okay, so a couple of things there. Number one, the Conservatives actually haven't said that they're going to be cutting dental care. They're going to be optimizing dental care.
Right, because as I said, from someone we were talking to who works in the industry, they said that this dental care program will cover a higher percentage of something that is more expensive versus something that is less expensive. So as the clinician, you might say to your client, well, let's get you the more expensive treatment because it's going to cost you less in the long run. It'll cost the taxpayers more, but it'll cost the patient less than if they got the more minor procedure, which makes absolutely no sense.
Well, and the other thing that we anticipated coming up to the election, and it's since been confirmed, the Conservatives aren't going to be cutting the childcare program either. Again, they're going to optimize it and have it actually get more value out of the money being spent on it.
Right, because there's a huge wait list. What was the wait list? It was something like 6 years. By that point, your child is grown and in school all day. So you don't even need a program by that point. And the Liberal program was only having so many spots for private childcare. The majority of the spots were going to, they called it public or subsidized daycare. And there just weren't enough of them to go around.
Well, and the problem is in all of the rural communities, they don't have these publicly funded providers and things like that. So it's mostly private providers. And they weren't able to actually qualify to actually get any of this because of the percentage cap in the provinces. So it was a disaster of a program. It wasn't well thought out. And the Liberals only cared about the urban areas, which is, reflected in the policy. And then Jagmeet Singh says, oh, well, sorry, this is Rachel Ayala. She says, oh, you're getting a lot of engagement. Oh, yeah, you're getting a lot of engagement on social media. Right. She is 100% correct in that, but the engagement is not positive engagement.
No, not at all. I mean, you can look on X, you can look on Facebook, the things that are being said of it.
We can't show it here.
The NDP are not good. Now, recently they enlisted the help of an influencer who, let's just say she has some risque material out there on the internet.
She has an OF account. Let's just say that.
Not really the look that you want your party to have. Now, when you are commingling your brand with somebody else or another brand, you want to make sure that your values align, or else things can go off the rails pretty quickly. So the NDP, which is, I don't even know what they're supposed to represent at this point, but the point is perhaps commingling their brand with an adult entertainer is not the best look for the NDP.
Well, and the only reason that that I think that Jagmeet even was sharing the same screen as this person was because of her views on the Middle East right now. So, there she is there, fully dressed in a wearing a keffiyeh, and then on her influencer page, let's just say she's wearing much different attire.
Or much less.
Much less. So, either the NDP dropped the ball or they didn't care, but I don't know. Like, at this point, it's just so obvious that the NDP has been making poor decision after poor decision after poor decision. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke, folks. So it's hard to even understand what they're even thinking, if anything.
Given how the polls look for the NDP right now, do you think you are an asset or a liability to NDP candidates hoping to get elected?
Well, I've shown folks that I love campaigning, and I believe that we've got a really important offer to make for Canadians. And so for candidates out there, keep on fighting hard. People need you. They need your experiences in your communities. They need what you have offered, the people that you want to serve. We need you, and Canadians need you. Because in this difficult time, people are wondering who's going to actually fight for me, who's going to fight for my family. That's New Democrats. We're committed to you and your families. We're not in it for the billionaires. We're not in it for the rich CEOs. We're in it for you.
So before we begin, I don't want to harp on the fact, but the New Democrat brand seems to be, we're here for your family, we're here for your family, we're the only ones going to stick up for your family. And yet they're commingling their brand with that of an adult entertainer.
Yep.
That's where you create problems and you create brand confusion. I think Vesper would tell us that. So I just want to point that fact out, that the NDP are trying to be for families, but they're mixing signals.
I don't even know you can call it mixing. I don't even have the word for it. But, the question is, are you a liability for your candidates? I just have one thing to say. Duh. 100% you are.
Well, Canadians know that the whole reason that we're going to an election now is because of Jagmeet Singh and his pension. Do you guys remember this? I said this many months ago, that even if Jagmeet Singh's pension was not the factor here, it looks like it is. And that's going to be a problem if they call an election after he qualifies in February. And that is exactly what is happening right now.
Right, because there was no other reason. And if he had just been honest and said, the NDP, financially, we're not ready for an election right now. Well, here's the problem. Why is that Canadians' problem? That's your problem. That's the party's problem. And you have that big building that you mortgage every single election. So what's the problem here? And if you were that confident that you're going to be, remember he said, I'm going to be the next prime minister. Sure you are.
Oh, he's not saying that today now, is he?